Hi, my name is Mark Walker. I'm the editorial director at the FinTech Times. We're here in Riyadh at Seamless. I'm going to start off by asking my next interviewee to introduce herself to you, the audience.
Hi, I'm Porra, the Chief Revenue Officer for Paymentology.
So, shall we start off with a little bit about your role within Paymentology?
Great, so I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Paymentology. Essentially, I look after all new clients coming to the business and being acquired, as well as all our existing clients. I have oversight of marketing as well and partnerships at global level. My remit is global, so Paymentology operates across the globe. So we have operations in Latin America, in Africa, in the Middle East, in APAC, and in Europe.
Yeah, fantastic. So you're probably perfectly positioned to give us a little bit of an overview of sort of payments within multiple regions. Maybe that sort of, west and middle sort of east divide. What's your sort of thought process on that?
What's really first of all, payments continues to amaze me. There's so much development and evolution and innovation across the globe. What's really interesting in actually operating across the globe is seeing how payments develop both in the developed world as well as more developing countries, and how some of the certain problems are getting solved by the providers within the different regions. Within developing countries, we're seeing a key importance of wallets in order to enable and provide that payment services to the non-banked population, and the really critical role that payments organizations and everyone within the ecosystems delivers and addresses within that. And some of the trends that are common, however, is the move to digitization. We're seeing incredible movement towards the development or the evolution of cards as we know them today into tokens of tomorrow, where everything will be tokenized. And from a payments perspective, this also allows you to drive much greater control across the proposition that you offer, so that providers of card or token services can offer their users the ability to control each transactions. For example, I always use this example, which is where you have a parent and a child card. And as a parent, I can start to integrate some levels of controls to my children's card and capabilities, so that I know where they spend their money, how much they spend, and where they're spending as well. So having that real-time visibility and control.
It's interesting that you mentioned that as well, because we did some research recently at the FinTech Times and found that the GCC has more youth cards than anywhere else in the whole world, apparently. So that might be something interesting and a signal of sort of things that need to be happening.
And we're seeing a lot of this. Actually, some of our clients here in the Middle East are actually actively targeting that youth population. So I guess the unbanked of today that might be banked tomorrow, and how do we? There was a conversation I was having earlier today around how the providers of payment services actually are servicing the parents, but actually the ones that are doing the majority of the transaction and the spending are the children. So how can you deliver a proposition that cater for that?
Caters to two almost different consumers at the same time.
Within the same account as well.
Just walking one step back maybe, when you sort of were talking a little bit about the different trends within, say, Europe and into the Middle East. You mentioned about wallets. And obviously we see a lot about what we call the leapfrog economies, where people have not using the traditional methods that maybe such as checks, cards and everything else, and going straight to
digital and straight to virtual cards. And we see a lot of that. We see that a lot in Africa, where we have actually with some of our business started, and we have a lot of our clients over there, and a lot of the digital banks that we service over there are looking to support and provide these financial services and access to payment solution to the population that hasn't had that opportunity. And wallets are actually at the key of that, where they become the store of value to which you then allocate a card to turn that store of value into a tool that you can use to make those transactions as well.
And I guess as a company, have you seen that shall we say, developing payments infrastructure is actually an advantage, because you can actually build a new version of using it rather than in some more developed infrastructure areas.
You have to overcome some of the legacy, that's right. So being a neo processor as well, cloud-based, where we've been working very well with some of our target customers in digital banks, because with us they can dive straight into delivering some of the new propositions which are cloud-based, online and virtual as well.
And then just maybe expanding on that a little bit more, you mentioned some of your clients like banks. Your typical client profile is quite broad, to say the least, isn't it?
So yes, we service any client that wants to work with Paymentology, but our target market is very specific around fintechs, so helping them drive innovation into the marketplace, as well as digital banks. So often we see the neo-digital banks that come out greenfield, or we're increasingly working with new digital spin-offs of traditional banks and wanting to launch a new digital and modern program, and often find it easy, as you mentioned earlier, to start it from the ground up as opposed to leveraging some of their existing infrastructure. And then we also do work with traditional banks as well, and where they want to modernize and deliver some digital solutions to their existing customer base.
And I guess that, I wouldn't say presents a challenge, but presents a sort of a different approach in those sort of areas, especially in your sort of field. Yeah. How do you cater for these ginormous companies
the
and
ranges
these nice
of
small
opportunities?
companies, nimble and quick?
Our philosophy is around, if we get it right for digital banks, we'll get it right for the traditional banks as well, because they want to come to us to actually deliver the solutions that those digital banks are offering and having a share of that emerging and new opportunities TAM within the market. So from a new fintech perspective, I find them some of the most interesting clients, because they're the ones that come up with often new brand ideas as well. So we look to really foster their development and growth within the market, and offering them opportunities to get off and start delivering and launching their solution as quickly as possible. We have a range of, we've structured our solutions and go-to-market propositions in a way that we can cater for the more emerging fintechs, so allowing them to get off the ground, minimizing the barriers of entries to that, as well as the more established digital banks as well, which and therefore our solutions essentially grows with them as they want to introduce more features and capabilities onto their platform. Our platform can grow with them.
And it would be a little bit remiss of me not to speak a little bit about open banking, given that we're here in the Kingdom. Innovation is a big thing as well. And a lot of the sort of the vision is about trying to use that open banking to drive that. Do you see that impacting into your area or your thought process when it comes to payments?
I think it would be remiss not to acknowledge open banking. One of the areas that we operate on card rails, and we're definitely not excluding having a look at account-to-account payments in the future as well, because that's, again, aiming to provide and covering the range of payments is what you'd be expecting from a payment provider as well.
Fantastic. And obviously we are here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia at Seamless. I've heard that this is perhaps your first event. Yes. Give us your reactions and your feedback. What do you think of the conference?
Well, as I said, this is my first Saudi Seamless event, and I love coming to events like this, meeting members of the ecosystem, seeing the new brands, new and existing brands continue to evolve and develop, and creating a new network across the payment system here. So it's just, I always find these events energizing and empowering. So as the players come together to work and deliver innovation into the market.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me on Seamless TV, powered by the FinTech Times.
Pleasure, thank you.